Hey, you look familiar. Today, we have an interview with a special guest. You may have seen his funny short clips video on TikTok or Instagram. You might have seen him in commercials such as PayPal. Also, music videos such as Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You, No Big Deal, and Todrick Hall's Raining Fellas, Sorry Barbie. Please welcome a social media influencer, actor, model, and entrepreneur, Brian Liebson.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Let's start with your name and pronouns and what do you do for a living?
Sure. Well, my name is Brian Shimasaki Liebson, and my pronouns are he, him, his. And what do I do for a living? That is such a good question. I would say I'm an actor. I just finished the national tour of Hamilton, the Anne Peggy Company. We just closed in Toronto on August 20th. And I've been an actor for a while. I've done a couple national tours, but I am a man of many trades. I have a degree in robotic engineering, and I've done that a little bit. As you said in your introduction, I've done a couple music videos and things like that. And I've also started a swimwear line during the pandemic. But I would say my main profession is an actor. Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a handful.
I know. And I think he just ended our interview. Kidding. Well, as you said, like you were starting at robotics, right? And how did you discover your love for theater?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I got into theater because I used to dance like at a dance studio when I was young. I have two brothers. I have a fraternal twin brother and an older brother. And my twin and I saw a video of Riverdance, and he really wanted to do that. So he took tap classes, which that's what we thought it was. It's actually Irish step dancing. But that got us involved in a dance studio. I wanted to take hip hop. We stayed with this dance studio for a while, and one of the dance teachers, Julia Merkovich, started a youth theater company in Los Angeles called Puttin' On Productions, which is still around. And so I started doing theater growing up in high school and middle school to high school. And then when I went to college, well, I was at the point where I was trying to decide where to go to college, and I always done theater for fun. But I really was passionate about math and engineering and sciences and things like that. So it was a very easy choice for me that I was always going to go to college for that and get a degree in something that I needed a degree in, because you don't need a degree to do theater necessarily.
Yeah. It wasn't like a side hobby of yours.
It was a fun extracurricular activity. Exactly. I'd like to say I was always I'm to this day, I'm a fan of theater before a participant or practitioner in it. I love musical theater. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, like switching from robotics, entering to this to unknown world of entertainment it must be really challenging. Did it come with doubts as well?
It was kind of two part. At the very start, I had gone to school for engineering, and I did the theater club, at my small school, and I was not even the best singer in my family. My brother got better roles than I did. But in school, I loved to do theater. And so I would do the theater club at my school and at the neighboring schools. And I did pretty well. I got pretty good parts and things. And so I had always danced. And at the time while I was in college, I got scouted to be to audition for Newsies, which was on Broadway at the time, which was like fierce male dancing. I was the right age and everything. I could tumble. And so I kept getting called in for it, and I never got the role. But I was like, well, I keep getting called in for it. I could probably book something. So I spent my spring break, my senior year. I went to New York, and I auditioned for everything. And I was blindly confident because all I had done was this like engineering club and theater growing up or whatever. And I think whereas a lot of people go to theater schools and, conservatory programs and stuff, it's very competitive and they get beat down and it's like the more you know about something, the more you realize where you place in it. I was like, I'm the biggest fish in this small pond. Like, I'm fierce, I'm talented, I'm great. Newsies is scouting for me. Like, I'm of course going to book something. And I think that confidence and comfortability and lack of awareness that I should be more concerned is what booked me for the Cinderella national tour right out of school. So I had a job offer lined up for the software company Athena Health, which I had interned at the year before as a project manager. That I accepted the offer, and then I got the Cinderella national tour offer, and I went up to them and I was like, while my body can do this, like I have to do this. And they were like, that is totally fine. That's amazing. If, we have an open job offer for you whenever you want to come back to us. And I've luckily been able to work since. So I was blindly confident, but I would say that like once I was in that world, like in the show, and then moving to New York after that, there was a big learning curve. There were a lot of doubts. It was clear that like there was all this. It's kind of like going to like a yacht club for the first time if you've never been to it. It's like, oh, everyone knows how to behave. I don't know how to behave. There's all these rules and systems and like social cues that like I really didn't understand, and so that took a while to.
Yeah, because like you're just new and this is something new.
Exactly, and like I had all the good intentions and everything, but there are nuances to how to behave in things. So then doubt did set in until I could make better connections and make better friends and get better relationships with people that could see me and understand me and know my background, which could help alleviate some of the learning troubles.
With that, like experiences you just discussed, was there like a moment you forgot like lines in the stage, or were there like moment?
That's so funny because that does happen to people, but no, I can say 100% there's not a single time I ever forgot anything doing that role because I was so excited to do it. And my role was the hardest in the show. I think some people might get mad that I say that, but like I was in the ensemble. I was the fox, or technically it's the footman, but I was the fox in it. So I had all these tumbling features. And between the two tumblers, I just kind of did a little more, and it was just nonstop. But I was like, I felt such a need to prove myself, given my background, that I was adamant about doing a really good job. Even if I couldn't do it socially backstage, I was adamant about like having my performance really stand for itself. And I think it did. And I never forgot a line. I never forgot a dance move. I did slide tackle my friend Delphi Borch one time on accident. It was, a very confusing pattern where people are going like this. And I don't want to say it's her fault, but it's happened.
Do you ever have to like, since you said like you don't recall like missing the lyrics or the line, have you ever have to step in or up for other people role just because they might messed up or something?
Yeah. Well, in Cinderella, I was on stage ensemble, so in theory, I would do kind of the same stuff all the time, but there were moments that like due to various things, like maybe the theater would be smaller, so there wouldn't be space for all 6 couples to be in the big ball sequence, so maybe be 4. So then my couple, because it was a main front couple, would have to like kind of modify things. But in my career since then, I have been a swing, which is like an understudy for the entire ensemble. So I am the understudy for, like in Miss Saigon, I swung 26 roles. And I did Seven Brothers of Beanie, and I swung 7 suitors and understudy 3 roles. And then I just swung Hamilton, which was 6 roles. And so as a swing, I always feel like that's my job, actually, that like every time you perform, you're stepping up to save the show and whatever. And that is a job. And it is like incredibly difficult. I think it's a huge ask on anyone to do that. And it's very thankless and, everything. And so I really love being a swing because I like to feel valued in that way, that when I perform, I am there to save the show. Like I'm really trying to, save it, rather than I feel like sometimes when you're on stage in every show, even though you are saving the show by doing it every day, it's like if you call out one time, it's like that's your job. You shouldn't be calling out whatever. Whereas if you're a swing, it's like the one time you go on stage, it's like you're saving the day, everything. So it's interesting.
It's like a really like a teamwork then, like
Yeah, I mean, it really
yeah.
is like a big group project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there like a time where you messed up and where how did you recover from it? You know, like if ever, like such as like blocking.
I'm trying to think if on stage, I really rarely mess things up on stage. But there were
He's a
times,
saver.
yeah, exactly. There are times in Miss Saigon, we had so many people. We had 26 people on stage, and we had 3 male swings and 2 female swings. Whereas in Saigon, like we had 20 people on stage and we had like 18 people off stage to cover all of it. So what happens is if there are more in Hamilton, we have 6 male ensemble members. If all 6 of them call out, we need to make sure that we can perform at least 5 of them. There's like the 6th rule can be cut. We call it a cut track when you have to cut one of the tracks of the show. But there's only one. And there are like modifications that everyone has to do to compensate for it. In Miss Saigon, there were shows where 15 people would be out, and there are 5 of us to cover all the slots. So I would be running back and forth, like taking this prop, throwing it over here, like all sorts of random stuff.
Wow.
Times like that, like of course, little things would go wrong, but I really don't think I messed up anything on stage. Like I treat my performance to the audience as such a precious gift that I'm really consistent in it. I'm really good at remembering exactly what I was taught in rehearsal from the director choreographer, doing that. Now there are times I've messed up off stage with social things and whatever, and like anytime, and I can say confidently, and I've had a number of issues with people where we've had to rectify and everything. And anytime that I've had an issue with someone, I know that sometimes I draw issues with people. I don't know if people have issues with me. I don't know if they're projecting or whatever. Or maybe it's my own ignorance. Like I know I get issues with people sometimes. And because I know that, I'm the first one to apologize, to try to make it right. I say, I will do anything. I just need to explain, like, I'm sorry and I believe you. Like I'm always willing to learn mistakes. And I think I always tell people that's a superpower that not a lot of people have, is to be able to listen to new information or at least different information than what you have. Think about it for a moment and then decide to change or not change based on that new information.
You know, Brian, like in the entertainment industry nowadays, like with you and when you're starting and stuff, like what's your advice to other people out there just like entering the entertainment industry? And because like they might like the character, they might like the person, and they may not like the person. And what are your things to do like when you encounter some like very unpleasant comments and stuff?
Yeah. That's interesting because now I'm used to being the youngest person in the show. So talented and so young. Now I'm seeing people younger than me who I'm in shows with who are making the same mistakes that I did. And I'm wondering if there's an obligation that I have to kind of go explain it to those people. Like I wish someone had explained it to me, but at the same time, I think it's up to everyone. You can't teach anyone anything, in my opinion. I think those people have to be willing and wanting to learn and maybe ask for advice. And so my advice to people entering is that success comes to those who keep going eventually. If they say to be a master in anything, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing it. I don't know. Actually, I kind of assume I probably have because I'm obsessed with theaters my whole life. I'm sure I've spent 10,000 hours like obsessing over it. I've been in shows that are horrible. That the entire cast was awful. They said I was wrong. I was like everything I did was wrong. The casting team said I was wrong. The choreographer said I was the worst one, whatever. And then I'm in the show where everything is perfect, and they're like, "Thank God you love it. You're perfect. You're the exact right thing. You have everything correctly." And so,
use it as a motivation, I guess, like the
yeah, it's like, yes, like I'll do exactly what everyone does in the mirror, and like I'll do it behind the person, and they just, I don't know, it's whatever. Everyone has an opinion, like a asshole. Everyone has an asshole. Everyone has an opinion. It doesn't make it like worthwhile, and I think that it's hard because like coming into the industry, you know that your careers are built on relationships, and you want to have a good relationship with everyone. But you will not have a good relationship with everyone. But that's okay because you will work with those people again, and they won't hold it against you if you're willing to apologize and make it right. Like I've done shows with people that I did not have a good relationship with before, and years later, we have the meeting where we all meet each other, and I'll walk right up to them and say, "Good to see you again. I'm excited to have a great project together, great show together. I'm just excited for it," and that's it. And I think that's just good to remember because you will get a lot of hate from a lot of people for valid but also invalid reasons, and it's impossible to know if it's valid or not. I think it's just more important to try to do your best.
Yes. I like how you're such a positive person as well. I know that you're API, Asian Pacific Islander. How was it like entering this entertainment? Like, was there like a group of people that you can like rely on and be like supportive on, and especially at this industry, it's like so big.
Yeah, it was for me at the time I came in. It was harder than it is now. I think it gets better every year, but it was really hard. One of the things that's really hard for me is that like, so interracial marriage wasn't legalized until like the 1970s, and so for me, to a lot of people, I'm Asian. My ethnic background is I'm half Japanese and half German Jewish, and because it's such a recent thing on Broadway, like people saw me as Asian, but I really, if I'm standing next to a bunch of Asian people, I don't look Asian. Like I went to the King and I auditions, and I got typed out. I was asked to leave because I was not Asian enough to be in it.
Wow.
But to the white audience, I look Asian, right? And so I think what I got really jealous of was that a lot of other people fall into types. Like you're a white singer and you're mature, or you're young and innocent looking, and or you're Asian and you remind us of this actor. You remind us of this actor. You could follow this person. There was no one like that for me. There's no one that looked like me. There's no one that had my skill set, and I think that that's hard for casting directors to deal with too, because they don't know where to place me because they don't have that kind of rationality. I'm completely unfamiliar, and so I got a lot of success when like I auditioned for Cinderella. They were casting it from complete scratch. I didn't have to fit someone's costumes. I didn't have to look like someone. It was just, and I was perfect because I'm great at what I do, and I didn't have to fit the role model of anyone else. I have gone through it all sorts of racism everywhere. I did the Miss Saigon national tour. I've dealt with all sorts of terrible racist management from within the company, from outside the company, from audiences, from Asian people protesting the show that I'm in that's about Asian people. I've gotten my photo posted in Facebook groups saying like this person's allowing this to happen, like he's betraying. I've been called Brian Shamalama Ding Dong in
Wow.
third callback for the same person. So nasty. I hope that other people don't have to go through that, but I think that I don't know, every experience like that has made me stronger and more passionate to prove those people wrong. Like I kind of think
Yeah.
sometimes those kinds of things light a fire under you, and I'm hoping that that fire that I had has driven me to like talk back and give action in these ways, such that the environment today that people are entering, they don't necessarily have to deal with that. But I also think that like the generation now is like so confident and capable of speaking up for themselves that had someone else been called Brian Shimasaki Ding Dong in an audition, they would have gone off at the person or whatever. At the moment, I was like, it's Shimasaki. And they said something, I was like, it's phonetic. And it was so unpleasant because it was in front of all these people. I was like, this is my audition for this show right now. Like, it was so unpleasant. Yeah. That was too bad. But it's okay because then I booked Miss Saigon instead and I did that.
If you have to compare, like as an API casting back then when you started and compared to now, does it get easier? The people more understanding? Or, because now too, like people trying to be diverse. So it's like, oh, you can be Asian and fit into like a different role. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely more opportunities like and willingness to hire different looking people. Like I think that at the time that I started, if I took the same projects then and now, there are projects then that I knew not to audition for or that I auditioned for and was cut for, that I would probably be more successful in now. And also at that time, there's a lot of issues with the people you audition against. Because the second I beat out someone for the role, they minimize it to, well, he's Asian. That's why he's, getting the callback. It's like, no, the fact that I got a callback and I'm Asian just shows you like how much better than you I am. Like, because I had reason to not get it. And so it was really nasty for a while, but I think that during COVID, there is, all these political movements happening, and I think just it brought a little more awareness to how people really felt about it. But I do think that at the end of the day, like in terms of theater and diversity, there's a ton of white people. There's really an increase and like great support of Black people in theater. But I think for Asian people and Latino and or Latinx, I don't know the variety of things, and Native Americans, there's really like a very, very small amount. And so I think sometimes it gets kind of sidelined or forgotten about, but it definitely is way easier today than it was before.
Was there like a group for actors or musician, like an API that they can like go to and then like, be part of that group?
Yeah, at the time, years ago, before I did Miss Saigon, so this would have been 2016, 2018, there were a couple of Facebook groups that I was really a part of. There's one, I think there's one called the Asian American Performance Alliance. I think there's a couple of union groups that are like Asian actors, and because it really isn't as active anymore, because I guess Facebook isn't as big a deal. But I remember at the time, there's kind of this trend that I still do, that is when you have the opening night of a show, you gather all the Asian people in the cast and take an Asian photo. And so you can see, that there are Asian people in the cast and increasing that visibility. Or raising awareness as like, oh, there's only 2 people in this photo. And actually what happened this year was that there's some holiday, I forgot what it was. Maybe it was the start of API month, but I think one of the Broadway people got photos from all the Broadway casts of all the Asian people in the company, like lighting and, tech and company management, front of house and everything. And there were a number of shows that had a ton of Asian people. And then there were a couple of shows on Broadway that even with the crew and the orchestra and everything, they had like 2 to 5 people. And I think I think that's sad, but it's like, no, it just raises awareness of like, this is the reality of it all. And I liked the Facebook groups existing because we could discuss it and like you could like it, and it was just nice to see older Broadway legends like Francis Jew or whatever in the group, like liking the photo, like being made aware of it. But I haven't.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so
It must be
like
like humbling.
but I just think that like recently I haven't felt as big of a community. I mean, being on Miss Saigon was a community in itself.
Is Lea Salonga in that group too?
It is. She never liked me, but I wonder if she is, maybe. Yeah. No,
I'm fangirling right now. Okay. With all of these castings and stuff, how do you prepare with this casting? Do they give you like a script, or and with that, like, do you prepare? How do you prepare into that character?
yeah, it's really hard. Usually for a lot of auditions I will, those I get sent a lot of auditions now. I don't normally just like see the bulletin and like go attend it. But usually very little information. Like everyone who wrote the show, the creative team, the director, choreographer, the producers, the composers, so you can see like other music they wrote. And you can maybe look it up and what the story's about, but in the auditions, like they give you music that you've probably never heard before because no one's ever sang it because it's new. And they give you choreography you've never seen before. So it's honestly very difficult to prepare for any specific audition. I would say to book something, like you have to be in the right place at the right time and hopefully you're luckily feeling your best that day, but you have to have had the right preparation. Like you have to take dance class every day and you have to practice singing so that when you end up being lucky in the right place, that you're able to deliver in the moment. Because what they really do is test you, somewhat unnecessarily, but they test you just to see, can you pick it up and can you deliver it? And I think that's the best method they have, because when you have 100 people who are all talented enough to do it, if they went through a process, it's like, well, you have to eliminate down somehow. So then you just test people to see how they can, I don't know, create their performance. And so something that I think I'm really good at to deliver an audition is that I'm really good at performing the choreography. A lot of people will be very blank faced or like looking at themselves in the mirror, but I'm good at learning a dance move and then kind of going backward and being like, okay, well, why would I do this dance move? Like, what is that story that I'm telling? And I can then reverse engineer the story I want to tell, and delivering a story is the reason you do choreography. So I think it's almost like they should tell you like why they came to the choreography, but that's then up to our own interpretation. So I think that's what my advice to people to like succeed in their auditions. But the preparation is just to keep testing yourself in different styles.
For your experiences, prepare yourself for this type of casting. Estimately, how long in a day do you like prepare?
I say on the daily, I spend around like an hour actively preparing. Like I'll be stretching or vocally doing my drills or whatever, and then an hour kind of like subconsciously, like I'll be like looking at theater, like researching shows coming to Broadway, and like for me, I love it, so like it doesn't feel like work. I don't have to specifically dedicate time to it, but I am doing things that specifically help me be prepared for any audition. I'd say like 2 hours. I mean, I would also say that like my whole day is like what I eat for breakfast is, how I go to the grocery store, like what I choose to wear in case I see someone on the street. Like everything is kind of like that. That's the thing with acting and performing and being in the entertainment industry, is that like it's not you don't work to create a product and the product is what it is. Like you are the product. It's the same reason like when you get hired, you can't really change how you look, because it's not just the art and not how you dance and not how you sing. It's all of you as your creation, like is part of it. So every single thing you do, every single thing you eat, the way you hold your posture, like all those things like are literally part of it. Yeah. And even like now with social media, it's like literally everything. Like how you film your day, where you live, like how people see you, your audience, like how you are represented to your audience is a huge part of it. So it's like kind of like a single thing 24 hours a day.
You do have to be like representable, you know, for yourself and also the company and the role that you might be cast in the future. So you know, want to be a role model, right? Maybe someone want to come and take a picture with you. You gotta be ready.
Or like someone like, I saw you in this show. It's like, oh, like I have to speak highly of the show, or like I have to make sure, you know, sometimes some actors like won't take a photo in a Speedo. I know a couple like really famous, like I won't say their names because like they're famous on TV, but like they have no photos in a Speedo on their Instagram because some of their audience is like the conservative Midwest, whereas and they have to worry about that. Whereas I'm like, well, maybe if I cared about that, like that would be good for my career, but I'm more about living authentically. I'd rather be hired as an authentic person and being able to live my truth fully open and honestly rather than not.
Speaking of social media, your social media itself is just inspirational as well. Like the story of what you put out in your story, you know, and it's just interesting. And then how like you encountered like a negative like situation and you're still smiling at the end of the day, you know, like despite that, you know, like da, 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 da. And it's really nice. Like your like Instagram itself is just inspirational to another API gay men like me, you know, and trying to be active, you know.
You're a traveler. I see you go to a lot of places.
Yeah. Well, I'm so lucky that I get to do it for work. I always try to plan a vacation somewhere, and like I get like so like frozen with all the opportunities of like, well, like where do you go? And so like I'm glad that my work takes me places and I love what I do. So then for me, it's kind of like anytime I'm unemployed feels like the work because I'm trying to get hired. And then anytime I'm working, that feels like a vacation because I get to go to some different place and I get to do what I love.
Wow.
Yeah. And so far, with all the places you travel so far, which one would be the best?
You know, there are so many options. I mean, I had a month in Honolulu and that was like amazing. But I really loved, I only had one day here, but I loved Savannah, Georgia. Like very, very, it was just gorgeous and all these like all this nature that was like different than what I'm used to. But well, I think that's another good thing that I've gotten to do. I've done a couple national tours, and so I've gotten to go to like really big cities, but I've also gone to like really, really small cities that a lot of big tourists don't go to. And I really like it all. I like the full range of it. I really like smaller towns and stuff. And I don't know. I've liked a lot of places. I've liked most places I've gone.
We hope you enjoyed our episode of our podcast today.
Before you go, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, Matcha Talk _podcast.
Don't forget our TikTok account. It's Matcha Talks. All right. We hope to hear from you soon.
Bye.
Bye.